Hey, Coach Ryan here to talk about the debate. I don't know if you want to even call it a debate. Quick little ideas on the disc brakes in triathlon world. Coming on hard and hot, hot and heavy, hard and strong, whatever you want to call it. They're here, and I think they're going to get a grip, and they're going to be around for a while. So I just want to kind of go over some tips and cons and things to think about, pros and cons and things to think about when you're looking at disc brakes and whether you consider for a new bike that you're purchasing, because you can't really retrofit a bike. So it's basically going to be on the newer bikes that are coming out these days, whether or not you go with disc brakes. So just a few tips on them. As you can see, my bike here, my PR6 Quintana Route, it does not have, it's got the regular caliper brakes. It does not have disc brakes, so I don't have to mess with that right now. But one thing is to watch out for, the frame has to be built a little bit different. It has to be a little bit wider to be able to handle the disc being back in there, because right now my brakes are caliper. They're underneath the frame. They're on the front here, in the front wheel, kind of your typical standard brakes. You got to watch out for that. If you've got a trainer, you're probably going to have to buy an axle adapter. You're going to have to get a through axle adapter, because usually disc brakes are not going to be the clamp style axle that you're working with. So you got to be careful of that. You got to be careful of, it's going to be permanently on your wheels. So if anything goes wrong with that wheel or anything, it's going to be a little bit more expensive to replace or get it fixed, and especially the equipment that goes onto your bike frame to actually hold on to it. There's hydraulics to worry about in some of them. There's DI2, there's electronics, and all this other stuff. And as you get more technology, it's going to be a little bit more expensive to fix it. So it's going to be, unless you're really adapted mechanically to do this kind of stuff, which I'm not. I have disc brakes on my mountain bike, and for my life, I can't really, maybe I can figure out an adjustment or two, but if I needed to do anything with them, I got to take it into a shop. Recently lost hydraulic pressure in the rear, so I had to take it in and get it fixed, because I just don't know enough, and I don't have enough time to invest and actually go through, figure out how to work on hydraulic brakes or disc brake systems. Another one you got to worry about is stopping power. It could be a good thing, but if you're in wet conditions, you lock up those wheels and you're going to go over. So you have to be careful. Disc brakes, man, you do get that stopping power that's right there. With the rain, you don't have to worry about the slippage on the rim, but you do have to worry about, you lock those things up immediately and you just slide your tires and you're kind of over. You also got to be careful with the probabilities. It adds a little bit, it's a little bit less aerodynamic to add in brakes or disc brakes, and it's a little bit more weighty on your bike. In the end, it's probably not that much of a big deal. Probably the cons overweigh the traction away from aero and the weight and everything like that for the people who are buying those systems. So it's not that big of a deal, but something to think about. Also, the nice thing is with your brakes, if you've got race wheels that are carbon rimmed, you don't have to worry about the carbon rim versus the aluminum rim debate with your brake pads, because if you have brake pads you're using on aluminum rims, you switch over to your race bike, it could have little shards of aluminum that'll tear up your carbon rims. So you always got to worry about that with the caliper brakes. So it's one less thing to kind of worry about. And you don't have to worry about adjusting them, the brakes and everything. Like for clincher brakes, sometimes they get kind of wobbly and you have to go in and either separate them out or adjust them a little bit so the brakes don't rub on the wheels. You don't have to worry about that. Disc brakes is kind of nice in that regard too. But you don't want to be careful about, disc brakes are a little bit newer in the tri-bike realm. I think this is probably the second, third year they've really gained traction, and I think a lot of brands are just going to them, and it's going to be default here pretty soon. But do keep in mind that you're going to have to buy special wheels. You can't just use your old wheels if you get a new bike that has a disc brake system. You can't just use your old wheels and